Good morning, David.
What do you say?
I said, good morning, David.
I know how much you love to repeat yourself, but once in a while, a little repetition is just so good. So today, I think we will have a little repetition of one of our old guests.
Okay. All right, David. I see what you did there. All right. It took me a second. It took me a second, but I got it. No, actually, yes, David, you are correct. We actually have today a returning guest, and I'm very, very pleased to tell you that coming back to the show for another visit, we have Mr. Doug Newman, and he is the president and founder of CPE Property Management Solutions. Doug, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for coming back and visiting with us again. Can you tell us and our viewers a little bit about what is CPE Property Management Solutions?
Sure. And first, thank you. You guys are doing a wonderful job with Car Chat. My team watches it. I watch it almost every week. It's awesome. We manage community associations, primarily condominiums and co-ops, but the acronym C is for communications. I think it's largely a communications business. P is planning and E is execution. So if you communicate well and develop good plans, right, the execution piece is easy, but you have to fund the plan. Otherwise, it's a dream. But that's what CPE is. And I love the business and I love our staff. We have a great team.
Fantastic. Now, I know you've been doing this for quite a few years. Property management, guiding boards, guiding communities to grow. But in your opinion, what is in today's environment the most challenging issues that a common interest community, the model itself, is facing?
So let me just preface by, every association of property is unique, right? So from my perspective, right? So we have a portfolio of properties. They go as few as 6 units to a little bit over 300. And, largely townhouse style associations. There's some amenities, clubhouse pools, elevators, these things. But that's where my perspective is coming from. But in terms of challenges today, it's almost a 3-part answer, I think. One is developing, high functioning governing boards. Like that's like really important. The unit owner engagement, which has been waning, is also equally important. I mean, they are true stakeholders in the puzzle here. And the third thing today, in terms of challenges, you guys know very well, is insurance.
Yeah, it's a challenging environment, definitely, for insurance. So, but can you speak a little bit about member engagement? Why do we think that is so crucial? What viable solutions have you really explored for that?
So when I do a meet and greet with a new client and I ask the people what makes for a successful association and a successful community, and those are 2 separate things. The association is the entity, the business entity. The community is where you live. Right? You live in a building. The building's part of a larger community. It's in a town. It's in a state, right? So I try to differentiate these 2 things, but it all starts with the unit owners. They bought into communal living. And unfortunately, I think too many people are buying in and think it's like an apartment complex, and it's not, right? They are stakeholders. When I say engaged, and we tell them this at the meet and greets, it doesn't mean you have to go to every single board meeting and participate, but read the minutes. Read the minutes, be engaged, be aware and abreast of what the issues are that the board's working on, right? And, each budget cycle, the fiscal year, the 12 months, plays into a larger, plan. So if you're going to live there and you're going to live there for, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, understand where you're headed. And it starts with the unit owners. From that, you develop board members. And unfortunately, we're finding that too many boards are dysfunctional, right? They're just not functioning.
So before we jump into that, Doug, sorry to interrupt you, but let me just ask you, like, specifically, is there some things that you found that would actually help your manager engage these unit owners?
I like surveys. So I think unit owners like to be heard. They want to be heard.
Yeah.
So, I was just looking at something this morning, a survey we did. We get a new front entry sign? It's a big controversy. Half the place want the sign because it's original and it needs to be updated. The other ones are like, what do we need to spend that money on that? It's not important. But, curb appeal and presence and staying current and market value. So we did a survey to the unit owners. This is not a formal vote, just really a litmus test. How do you feel? What's your opinion? So I think those types of things, if you start with that, get them in the game.
And would the result of the survey become public to the association, or just keep it to the board?
Absolutely public. We'll take, and there was an open-ended question at the end for comments and thoughts, and we'll take it all. We'll put it out there. We're not going to, it's anonymous. We're not going to say who said what, but, and I add a little commentary about staying current and fresh, and eventually the sign's going to fall over at some point. I mean, it's not awful. I don't think it's reflective of their community. If I lived there, I'd be like, let's do it.
I love that. We used to call that taking the temperature of the association. And when you have an idea of if you're going to have some course of action, you really need some feedback, right? So are you getting good responses out of those surveys? Like what kind of response rate do you think you're getting?
Oh, it was awesome. So we put it out on Monday, and this morning we're about 65%, which is really impressive community. But
you are engaging those communities. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So it's got to be working now. How do you build? You were mentioning high functioning governing boards. Like, how do you build the enthusiasm for the life of the community and the board members' fiduciary duty?
Yeah, the board members do an awful lot of work, and I don't think they're appreciated enough, right? They're volunteering. They want to make the association and the community successful as best as it can be. These people should not wake up in the morning, however, and have check emails from unit owners.
Yeah.
If there's something broken, if unit owners emailing the board members, something's broken. That's not what they signed up for. It's a governing board. They should be governing at a high level. And then they hire professional managers, hopefully, to carry out the day-to-day work. I like the boards to govern. I also like committees. I building and grounds committee, finance committee, social committees if the place warrants it. But that's a way to spread the work out too. But the boards need to govern, but they need to be educated. They need to understand the statute. They need to understand the very complicated insurance markets right now, and how to best prepare the association to keep premiums in check. There's strategies for this, but if they're not educated, if not members of CAI, for example, and they don't, Connecticut does a wonderful job with something called Condo Inc. We encourage all our members to sign up and take that course. We want all of our members to be members of CAI, our board members, so they can become educated. The more engaged unit owners and the better educated the board is a direct relation to how well the place is going to function.
Absolutely. Doug, we don't speak a lot about insurance on the show, and that's on purpose, but it is a hot topic right now. And in a lot of communities, it is the biggest line item on the budget. So Doug, can you speak a little bit about insurance, and what does that really have to do with the governance of an association?
Yeah, it's very complex. Board members, go get quotes. It's not like going to the supermarket and getting a can of coffee, where you have 50 to choose from. The markets are very complicated. There's only a handful of carriers in each state, rated carriers, who will write the insurance. And then there's, as you well know, there's reinsurance markets who dictate, if you're within 2 miles of the water, forget it, we're not going to write you. If total property values are less than 10 million, we're out. So that it really becomes a handful of carriers, and the boards, I don't think, understand this piece, and it is usually the number one line item in the budget. So they really need to understand it. Sometimes we take on new clients, and I see the deductibles at $2,500 or $5,000 from like day one, and they're totally missing the mark, and they're not spreading the risk to where it should go. The unit owners need to have some skin in the game too. And if you increase the deductible, to $25,000 is kind of where I'm recommending today for most of our clients, sometimes more if it's high-end finishes. We have one client at $50,000. That HO6 policy just needs to be adjusted, and the difference is dollars, literally dollars. But you're saving so much money for the association, not just in 1 year, but you're kind of hitting a reset button. It's in perpetuity, when you hit that reset button. So these strategies are really important. And it's, I'm not a licensed insurance agent, but I really understand this, and I take pride in knowing it well, because it's such an important thing for our clients. But you have to loop in your attorney, you have to loop in the insurance agent, and you have to make sure your governing documents speak to this and can best protect, the association from risk.
Absolutely. So thank you very much for sharing that. And it's true, Steve, like it makes the governance of a community so much more difficult when you don't stay ahead of that big issue that is insurance. And people will show up at the door with pitchforks and torches because of the price increases, right? So, but that does not help. Like if we're not communicating effectively, it does not help, obviously, the community aspect. Let me ask you a simple question, Doug. How do you take an association and make it a community?
It's a good question.
Do you have a magic wand, David? I feel like we're social scientists sometimes. And, the only constant is change. And today's environment is different. COVID, kind of rocked our world. People are at home working. People are online more. I think maybe they're online a little bit too much. I'm guilty myself. Do you know your neighbor? Do you have your neighbor's phone number? Can you ask them if you have an issue? And unfortunately, I think too many people say, no, I don't know my neighbor, and I don't have their cell phone number.
It's a really good point, because you see it every day where a unit owner might have a complaint about a neighbor, and rather than go knock on the door and talk to somebody about it, they go straight to management, they go straight to the board, or they catch the board president walking their dog through the community, and they just make a complaint about it rather than just trying to get along with their neighbors. It's a really, really good point. So how do you deal with training, your managers and the people that are actually running these communities now, and because they got to educate the boards on how to handle some of the stuff. How do you get your managers trained so well to build these communities and improve how they function?
I will say we have the best staff, and I mean that sincerely. I'll challenge anybody. We have great people, really great managers, and great support behind them. They're all people persons, people. And it starts with that. It's in their DNA that they want to help people. And so you can't train that. It's just in their DNA. So when you start with that, it makes the conversations smoother or easier. Sometimes it's a challenge, but they all want to help. And that's the basis where they're coming from. So I'm just blessed that that's the type of people we have.
I appreciate that. Now, in the meantime, you may have people, the peoples that have it in their DNA, but at the same time, they also need some support in order to help the boards. Like, in your professional opinion, what has been one good place to get the resources that help your managers?
Well, there's no question CAI has a wealth of resources, and we reference that a lot. But to be honest with you, I'm going to give you guys a big plug right now. Community Association Car Chat has been a huge resource for me and my company. I probably watch, I swear, probably 9 out of 10, and I kick myself for missing that one. And probably of the 9, email you guys, and you know this, and I say I need the contact information for that person because there's something they said or that they explained on this channel that intrigued me, and I've reached out to them and we collaborate. And these are people I would never have met had it not been for Community Association Car Chat. And our whole team watched Elaine Murray last Monday, and her cash box thing, knowledge, attitude, skills, and habits, is like now something we're talking about. It's awesome.
Yeah, she had such a great line there. I just shared it with somebody yesterday. Yeah, good point. But thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Very, very humbling. Yes, it really is. And Doug, we do like to give our guests on the show. We like to give you an opportunity to thank somebody. So is there somebody other than us? Because really, thank you very much. But who else has helped you in your journey in your career?
Yeah, I'm going to give Bob Howard a shout out again. Bob was in Connecticut. He ran a company called Summit Properties, and nobody taught me the business. I understand business, right? I ran businesses. I love business. I love people. But Bob's notes and his written communications and how he ran the associations is how I learned the business, by reading his material. And he was in the business for a long time, big shoes to fill. I took over my first client was something he managed. And really from his notes is where I learned. And then just, meeting people like yourself. Mike Coleman was a big help. He connected me with a bunch of people, gave me, and we're just having fun and we're enjoying it, and we enjoy making our communities as successful as they can be.
Awesome. Well, thank you again very, very much for coming onto the show. Thank you for watching. We appreciate your support and we appreciate your shout out. Like Steve said, humbling. Yeah. We don't get that every day, but in the meantime, we look forward to maybe having you a third time, maybe sometime.
Keep it up and listen. Shout out to Alicia behind the scenes because she makes this happen. She does a great job.
Yes.
All right. Stay well, guys.
I'll see you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
See you, everyone, next week on the next episode of Community Association Car Chat with David and Steve.
Thank you.